power. Fukuda, they changed several times, but in Japan. But basically, we portrayed these three leaders. We were naming and shaming them. And we were showing everyone, okay, they're driving this ship. They're blocking these climate negotiations. So either they hit the iceberg and sink the boat, the world, or they actually navigate around. So, so basically, we did the ad in the Jakarta Post. It got distributed to all delegates. And after a couple of, I don't know if it was hours or days, but we heard that the Japanese environment ministers took this ad in a cabinet meeting and was telling the prime minister and everyone, look, this is how the world sees us. They see us as blockers. And they were totally psyched out, and they changed their position, and they actually became, from a spoiler, they became a champion. Unfortunately, George Bush and Stephen Harper, they still, they continued on their position. Another example here is from a campaign that we run on Guantanamo. One of the biggest kind of campaign arcs that we have been running is to end torture and close Guantanamo Bay, because this prison is a symbol for the Western hypocrisy. And we have been showing this through this ad, which is, you know, Osama, who loves Guantanamo. Why? Because it's a recruitment tool for them. For the terrorists, the behavior of the US and this hypocrisy is a recruitment tool. So we had other ads where we had Dick Cheney, who was then in charge, and the question was, is he Al-Qaeda's top recruiter? And so this metro station is Farragut North. So for all of you who know Washington, it's the metro station that actually everyone who goes to the government district will come out of this metro station. And we had the whole metro station during a month. So Osama bin Laden was looking at all the officials during a month. Here we have a petition delivery from the early days of Avaz, Burma petition delivery to Gordon Brown with monks and other activists. Here we have in Brussels 1 million against GMOs. Here we delivered the petition to the EU Food and Health Commissioner, John Daly. And very interesting, we delivered this petition, and there were some agenda setting problems, because right after the petition delivery, we had to head out to a conference of Europa Bio, which is the biggest GMO lobby group. And unfortunately, he was not able to talk more than half an hour with us. But in the meanwhile, he actually had to leave his post because of a scandal involving tobacco industry and money that he accepted. But a good example of really public action. We had lots of media there, as you can see, and it really works. It really puts on the pressure. So here we have a delivery of our, well, 2.4 million people, but at the end it was well over 3 million people, where we campaigned around the anti-counterfeit trade agreement. Maybe some of you have heard of ACTA. It was a pretty big campaign in the internet community, and I would say our campaign has been key in actually blocking this treaty that would have had really devastating consequences for our liberties online, because it aimed at pushing for really excessive copyright laws and you know, surveillance and I mean surveillance in the sense of who downloads what. And so this is another delivery. So basically here, what have we done other than just run the petition? We engaged over several months in dozens of high-level advocacy meetings with key EU parliamentarians at the parliament. We delivered, you know, to President Schulz at the parliament, had several conversations with his team, and Martin Schulz, he issued a statement really shortly after condemning ACTA. And the debate in the European Parliament was held in several key committees, so our members have been targeting committee members with targeted email campaigns and telephone campaigns. And we have been working in a broad coalition of a lot of internet groups, and together with Oxfam and Médecins Sans Frontières to raise the issue of access to medicines and make sure that they also engage in the final hours of the ACTA negotiations. And at the end, I mean, you know, it's never one campaign, or it's never just us who actually defeat the treaty, but ACTA, when I first started working on it, it was just impossible. Everyone was saying, look, this is this treaty, negotiated entirely in secret. no one really knew what was in it. It was about 4 years ago, and it was all very, very pessimistic. And we had this huge spike in campaigning in the US about the SOPA and PIPA bill, which was also about online censorship. And somehow the debate came to Europe, and somehow it came to the European Parliament. It was the first time that the European Parliament had a vote on an international trade agreement. So it was the first time that the European Parliament, went against the European Commission, who has been leading on that treaty. And the public pressure combined with demonstrations in the street, lots of groups mobilizing on so many levels, and our campaign, with the nearly 3 million signatures at the European Parliament have helped to actually defeat that treaty, something that 10 years ago a lot of people wouldn't have thought that it would be possible. So I was talking about the Arab Spring. Talking about the Arab Spring and Syria, here's an image from a delivery on Syria. Just to give you an idea of ours, we run a lot of campaigns, probably about 10 campaigns a week in different countries. So depending on which list you're on, you'll only get 1 email a week, but we run regular campaigns in India, in Japan, in Italy, in Europe. And they're all separate lists, basically. And sometimes we have global campaigns, so all of you receive the same. But Syria has been a priority for Avaz for the last probably 1.5 years. And it all started when the brave people in the Arab streets started to go out, and it was in Tunisia when the fruit seller set fire on himself, and then it triggered demonstrations in Egypt, in Libya, in Syria, in Yemen, in Morocco, in Algeria. Some of these places, in Syria there's still fighting going on, but in Egypt there has been a huge change. Mubarak has been there for ages. And so basically, no one saw it coming. So when the first people went out in the street, we were thinking, okay, how can we support this movement? This movement that takes place in all these countries. And we thought, okay, what will happen is they will cut the internet. They will cut the communication technology, so people can't organize anymore. So we run a fundraiser to our list, and we said, look, we're planning to send equipment in. We're planning to do these things, satellite modems. We have done similar projects in Burma, in Zimbabwe, in Iran, against the firewall. So we had a knowledge and the links we learn by doing, basically, but we're really committed. And so one day you open your computer and you learn about satellite equipment, and then 2 days later you're on the phone with someone in the desert who doesn't know how to turn it on. But basically, we collected over $3.5 million, and we have launched our biggest offline project. And Syria has become the main focus. We have worked in Egypt, we have worked in Libya, but basically Syria has been really where it all came together. And we had 10 people just working with the activists and collecting the footage and linking the footage to the international media. Because the problem is, if you don't have images coming out of these zones, the media won't report on it. If the media doesn't report on it, the public doesn't know about it. And most importantly, there's no more pressure on the governments because people, they just don't care anymore. So for us, we were really just thinking this is the value that we can add. And so basically, we had 30,000 people donating, working. We had this 12 people working with the different leaderships of the democracy movements, Syria, Yemen, Libya mainly. And I think, over the last 1.5 years, we became sort of a global megaphone for the Syrian people. And we have been doing media support, we have been campaigning, the petition delivery, and we have provided also humanitarian and medical aid. And according to the BBC, one of the biggest outlets, a third of the footage that they were using on Syria, they came out of Avaz's networks. So it has been quite substantial. Unfortunately, the peaceful protests have turned violent, and Avaz is committed to non-violence. So our involvement in the Syrian struggle will take other forms now. So the project is not, we have scaled it down and we reallocated resources. That's something we do often, and we will find other ways to support the revolution in Syria. But now it's a civil war, and it became evident over the last few months, but but yeah, now the game changed. So this is just another image from an action in Berlin. We've been doing many of these, and probably every week several of them. So this is actually kind of the end. I'm not sure where I am with my time. You can just give me an update on my time, because I have a couple of other examples. So let's give it another couple of minutes. So basically, we don't look at this video, but we look at this. So this is a massive 4-story flag, Palestinian flag, right in the heart of Brussels. So on the left side is the European Council building. On the right side is the European Commission, and we have been mounting this flag at the same time when the European foreign ministers had a meeting when they were discussing their common position on Palestine. As you all know, I hope, Palestine has been recognized as the 194th state last Thursday. And it has been, a really long campaign for us. We have been working on Palestine since the launch of Avaz, because the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is at the heart of the clash of civilizations. It's at the heart of the East-West division. And if there is no resolution to this conflict, there is no hope for many other conflicts. So for us, getting a step forward and actually having again a peace process, which the peace process has been inexistent. The population in Israel is very happy with the status quo, which means occupation of more Palestinian land, the Gaza siege. It's a situation that doesn't really hurt the Israeli population, and the current right-wing government has no interest in going anywhere near peace talks. So our opinion was always that only recognition by the UN could actually change the dynamic and get the parties again back together. I mean, of course, it's complicated, but so this action has been one of several that we have been doing, and you see we had 4 leaders, and they were reading the newspaper, because at the same day we have published opinion polls in 4 major countries, because we knew Europe is key for the vote. Because when it all started last year, there was a vote in the Security Council. It did never happen because of the balance of power in the Security Council and the veto that the US would have put in. So the next step was to go to the General Assembly and to have a vote there. And as we all know, most of the countries support the Palestinian resolution, about over 130, we knew that. But Israel and the US, they started a vicious campaign talking about moral authority of this vote, and if Western democracies, European democracies, Australia, don't vote yes or say no, that would have morally less value. So our goal was to get as many European countries on board as possible, and so to that end, we knew that public opinion was favorable to a Palestinian state, so we were running opinion polls in 4 countries and then publishing them. And we had an average of 79% of Europeans in favor of a Palestinian state. So basically, we have been, engaged with politicians all over Europe, in Spain, Germany, the UK, and France. And we had parliamentarians using our polls. We had media using our polls. We were helping Palestinian spokespeople to get in TV, and it was a massive campaign, 1.8 million signatures, and of course the donations, because the whole campaign is, as usual, just funded by small donations. Last year we had the same flag, a similar flag, and we had also a flotilla of ships passing by the East River in front of the UN in New York. Well, this is kind of old and boring, but maybe a last one that I think really demonstrates the power of this model is a victory on cluster bombs. And we have a situation where we have an international treaty in place. A cluster bomb ban has been negotiated in 2009, signed and ratified by about 60 countries. Most major producers are not part of it, but still there is a moral, as usual in international law, it sets a moral precedent. So So there is, in Geneva here, there's a convention on conventional weapons that is negotiated for the last, I don't know how many years, but one of these endless negotiations. And at one point the US is putting in